then. Saw the countdown. Roll my face.
I only joined in because I could see from your side. It's like you just sat on a bicycle with no seat.
The commercial playout is exploding.
So welcome back to another episode, my lords, ladies, and gentlemen, and other people, and to dogs around the world. Hello.
It's all the dogs.
All the dogs. Not the cats. Fuck them. Yeah, it's getting to the end of just a very long week. A very long week. Like usually the posting schedule is Tuesday, live stream on a Thursday, and then the podcast on a Friday. I didn't do one on Tuesday, and I didn't even post about it. I was too busy. Good evening, and good evening. Hey to how do you say that? Libbyization. Hello to the purple eye. Hello
there.
Yeah. So other than work stuff, and whatnot, there's things going on with. Course material with companies that we're partnered with, and Kajabi. I've had to figure out how that works, and new casework.
We've gone technical.
Well, Kajabi is basically it's like a service that just helps you create online courses. It's a dead good service. Don't get me wrong. Oh, look at that! That's how busy I am. I haven't even washed my hands. Yeah. Look at that. That's terrible.
Furious palm marking, that is.
Either that or the green screen's up just to hide the fact that I now live on the street. Thanks, Liz. Thought what?
I thought you were back in your tent. Doing one of your survival weekends.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be a fun episode. But no, I've been doing all that, and then Monday was a fun bit actually. I went to see Louis C.K.
You tell me about this. Was it good?
Louis, oh my God, he was incredible. Delightfully offensive to everything, including himself. But
did he reference all the the backstage drama?
A little bit. A little bit, yeah. A little bit. Like when he was introducing the first act, it was all welcome and the deplorable, horrible man that is Mr. Louis C.K. Once we let him out of his cage, we'll be all this kind of thing. And then he was like, "No, I'm going to drop the accent. The first one's coming on in a sec. You'll love them. They're great. Here we go." and then put them on. But like.
No.
Even though I'm on a day trip, and it's primarily about stand-up comedy and whatnot. Me and Maddie went to visit the British Museum, as you do, because it's awesome and free and whatnot. And whereas some people go in for like maybe an overly priced muffin,
have you got goodies?
I do. maybe an overly priced muffin, maybe a coffee, a trip around Spanish antiquities. Why not? Me, I bought more books.
Of course you did.
I bought more books.
Bring them in. I feel like you are what like Madonna is to fostering children. You are the Madonna of buying books.
I am the Madonna of buying books. But the only thing is her biceps are bigger than mine. So that's the only difference. My beard's better though, to be fair. My beard's better.
Yeah, she tries. She does try.
But let me show you. So this one I got. The wit and wisdom of Sherlock Holmes. This is how much of a powerful nerd on the topic I am. This is just a book of quotes arranged in some kind of style. It's just a book of quotes. It's not even a full story.
Oh, they
and
would be fantastic, really, aren't they?
I
As a
still
dog.
bought it.
Yes.
I still
Yes.
bought it. Why not? Right? Why not? This was like when we were stood in the museum. Maddie was looking at the books as well, and the different books. She bought one on the way that madness was diagnosed and treated in like medieval London. Fascinating stuff. Really good.
Yeah.
And me, I'm kind of rocking out over the puzzles and the science element and whatnot. And she was like, "You can get one." I was like, "That's awkward because I want 5."
But I've also bought 10.
So I compromised with myself and bought 3.
That compromise, that internal
Yeah,
compromise.
exactly. So this one
Yeah.
is Solve It Like Sherlock. Basically, somebody's put together
That's a
25.
pleasant.
Yeah, 25
Yeah.
mini murder mysteries in a novel,
Oh,
which is pretty good.
pleasant cover for a dark book.
Yeah, absolutely. Lateral thinking puzzles. Like
Right.
even on the cover, a man was walking along a railway track when he spotted an express train speeding towards him. To avoid it, he jumped off the track, but before he jumped, he ran 10 feet toward the train. Can you say why?
Ooh.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, let me find a good
You've
one.
got to tell me the answer to that one, though.
I don't know the answer to that one yet, to be honest. I don't know the answer to any of them yet. I'll mull that one.
Oh.
I'm looking for a small one. These are all like over 3 or 4 paragraphs long. There we go.
Is he in a tunnel?
Maybe.
Maybe.
This riffraff thinks he was on a bridge. There we go. This one's only a couple of lines. How much will one cost? Asked the customer in a hardware store. 20 cents, replied the clerk. And how much will 12 cost? 40 cents. Okay, I'll take 112. Fine, that will be 60 cents. What was the customer buying? I really wish I hadn't. No, that seems weird. What would the customer have been buying? One costs 20 cents. 12 costs 40 cents. Okay, I'll take one, 2, 6. He's buying door numbers.
Of course.
He's buying door numbers.
Is he talking about measurements of something? Is he talking
This has
about...
got to come with answers, surely. Hang on. This was a bad opening gambit to start with. I'm sorry. Hang on. I have to know.
That's the next book. That's inspired you to find the answers. These are just the questions.
No. 117. It comes with answers. There we go. Answers. What number was that? Okay. Just talk amongst yourselves while I find the answer. 30, house numbers. Yeah, so we were close.
What was the train one? What was the train? You need to tell me at the end.
We'll find that one out after. So this one is the science of being human, why we behave, think, and feel the way we do. And I bought it simply because of what the blurb said. The blurb interested me. The chapter headings inside are much more interesting, but this is what the back said. Why is your queue mathematically proven to always be slower? Are we still evolving? And how does the internet make us behave badly? And the interesting thing is that the answer to all 3 of them is porn. It's porn. And then this one was actually the inspiration for today. Dangerous Personalities by Joe Navarro. Joe Navarro, if you don't know him, he's pretty much the FBI profiler that people go to for training and stuff.
Yeah.
Wrote one of what is considered the books on body language deciphering, called What Every Body Is Saying. But the kind of thing today is I thought it would be fun to try and tackle the concept of psychopaths.
Yeah, definitely.
Given that people are currently obsessing with Dharma,
Yeah,
hopefully not the guy, just the TV show.
we can hope.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
one can hope. I mean, if you look up some of these statistics on active serial killers, it's thought that by country there are at least 7 active serial killers. Is a number. Obviously, it gets higher the bigger the country. So it's bigger for America, it's bigger for Australia, that kind of thing. But what they
yeah,
can say about all countries is that there are at least 7 active serial killers. So if you listen at the window right now, you may hear one of them. You may hear one of them going in that way. But
yeah.
oh, there you go. Alicia said it. Dangerous Personalities was a good read. She's already read it. Great. I'm hoping for good things from it myself. Um,
I
I
mean,
haven't got around to it because mostly because my to read list is currently in the double digits. Uh,
bloody hell.
and though I read pretty quickly, that's not.
I just have to Wikipedia some of this stuff. I mean, that's there's so much sort of content out there now, isn't there?
Yeah.
In terms of like how it's picking up the popularity, this kind of stuff as well. It's circulated a lot more mainstream. So I imagine it's a load more harder to sort of rattle down the gems when so many gems are coming out, like you're saying, with what you do as well. I bet it's solid to just sort of stay on top of all those. So I know you love your books as well, so it must be frustrating to be like, oh, I need to. There's certain things I need to knock on the head, but there's also these set books I've got as well that I need to sort of get down, and then the new books.
I both love and hate it in equal measure. Because I before I'd finished the Dave Grohl book, I can't remember the last time I'd read fun for pure like sort of fictional level enjoyment. It's all been to sort of nurture my inner intellectual growth and whatnot. I mean, like you say, that's just a virtue of it. I currently have 4.5 terabytes worth of studies, papers, research documents, books, ebooks, all of that kind of stuff that I have to go through, and like it's kind of fallen into my Dropbox folder, and I use oh god, the name's gone. Speechify to read it to me. So like I can get through a pretty decent book in one kind of 2 hour sitting. With most of it remembered, but I have to kind of focus and whatnot. I mean, in short, it's a gigantic pain in the arse, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
I wanted to ask as well, like when you sort of go into reading a book, like you say, like you haven't, had a chance to sit down and just read something for fun and
Mm.
and for the process of training and what have you. But do you find like I myself find it weird that I can't just sort of like slip into a certain book? One because it's wrong and the library will kick you out if you do that. Another reason is another reason is sort of like just where you are at the time in terms of like say I'd be reading a book on physics and I'd be
Yeah,
like really enjoying the book. 2 days in, I'm
yeah,
like, I'm not. I couldn't give a shit about physics right now. I want to laugh. I want to laugh and read this. I want to read
yeah.
something which is going to feel like an obscure kind of comedy thing. But I suppose with what you do, it's kind of you have to maintain a focus, I suppose, for work reasons with what you're reading. Like, how do you go about sort of staying motivated with the reading pieces coming in like that, and how do you sort of keep it fresh for yourself and keep it interesting and keep it fun when it is for training and
Well,
this.
mostly because there is a fun aspect to the kind of instant conversion of knowledge into storage in your memory palace. That's a fun thing.
Yeah,
But like with whatever I'm reading for work based purposes, that's always trialed. It's always it kind of what's the right word? It translated no transpire no I don't know. I don't know what the word is I need, but it goes past the book.
Yeah,
Transcends. Thank you, my love.
yeah,
Transcends. It transcends the book. I knew it was trans something. It was translation. Transsexual. No. It transcends the book. That way, it's less about the kind of.
yeah.
It's more about okay, and I'm thinking about ways in which I can apply it, and then I'm going to go out and have a go,
Yeah.
and put it to use and whatnot. So like I've got this which came out recently. Now this isn't a book that's on general release because a lot of people won't know of it. I got this, which is a book on mentalism stuff,
Which is
and
a lovely cover, that is. I do appreciate a good.
mate. You've met him. You might not recall meeting him, but his name's Steve Harrisine. We met him in Newcastle, and he publishes the books. And they actually licensed some artwork from the Brothers Grimm Foundation. So they've got all of this stuff that they got in the front. Let me show you.
And,
Like this kind of stuff that's in there
oh,
and whatnot. But like this book, how much would you pay for it?
uh, I mean, that looks like it's going up into the £30 range.
This is a 250 quid book.
Shit a brick.
This is a 250 quid book, but you pay that just for the kind of production value, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
In terms of the content, it's going to be dangerous, devious, naughty, mentalism kind of things. And
yeah,
that's the reason the books are kind of priced that way. Is to if you want it bad enough, you'll go get it.
yeah.
You'll figure out a way. And that's the kind of nature of it. So if you're reading about it, it's not just the nature of reading. It's more. It's
Yeah.
action. It's implication. It's cause and effect and the like. But before we go off topic, because we could, and I could talk about what it takes to read en masse. Like my own two pennies on it, because there's many people that do speed reading and all of that kind of stuff. There's many people that just do speed. But
What are you talking about?
what? But besides that, so
Jeff?
psychopaths, nutters, crackers, people. What
And
are your thought? What are your thoughts on what they are? More, no, let me change the question. Why do you think the nature of a psychopath is so fascinating to people?
um, I think it's because in a way, it's looking into that taboo inhibition, into the impulse, the things that we are, I suppose, disgusted by, just as people, as we've evolved socially
Hmm.
and naturally, we know what's right and wrong, and I suppose they go against the nature of it itself. How can we not be fascinated? Not in a sick sort of way. You can't help but look. It's like a car crash, that
Yeah,
kind of thing. When you go past on the road,
yeah,
9 times out of 10, a lot of people will slow down, just even a smidge, just
mm,
to catch it, even though you know it's a terrible thing. And thinking about it in terms
yeah,
of like, yeah, like, oh, like things that are bad, things that are good, you would stay away from the bad, go towards the good. But there is that sort of need, uh, challenge our need for safety. That's a good one as well.
mm.
They are, you're
It's the
looking at
same thing. It's the same thing. You look at something that scared you.
they are something that is essentially what we are all, not all capable of, but they are in the form of us in a way.
Mm,
Every human is a reflection of where we came from in a sense, like sort of like we all started from the same place. We've all had a birth. We've all had a
life.
had we've all become luckily full grown adults, but
Yeah.
we've all had different experiences along the way, and those experiences are what set us apart. And I suppose it's looking into those experiences and seeing how people have become the way they are, that you just can't, like say the car crash, you can't help but look. It's an
Mm,
experience that you don't definitely do not want.
yeah.
You definitely don't want in your life. But if you saw it, you saw it unfold in terms of what Netflix is doing and putting it out there and showcasing these sort of things in a way that highlights what these terrible deeds were and who these people were and why they did them. You just can't help but sort of get drawn in.
Mm,
It's I think it's just nature, isn't it?
mm.
Nature. We are sick individuals deep down. No, I'm sure
Yeah.
we're not. I'm sure we're
Not
not.
just us, not just me and Adam. Bear in mind.
You gotta know what's in the dark, aren't you?
Mm,
That kind of thing. It's like the monster under your bed, the
mm,
thing in the wardrobe. You kind of want to know what it looks like.
yeah,
You want to know what the serial killer did. You want
yeah.
to know why there was. Someone told you like, oh, don't talk to that bloke. Why he's done some things. You're not going to not think. It's like don't think about elephants. You're not going to not think about what those things are.
Thank you. That's
Yeah,
that's that's. I mean, that's. I completely agree with that. I
yeah,
completely agree with the kind of fascination on the kind of capabilities of
yeah,
what humans have. It's kind of why a lot of people look at somebody living through something dangerous or something that is some kind of weird skill that somebody has, or
yeah,
whether you're interested or whether you're not, you
yeah,
watch. Like, I
yeah.
can't tell you the amount of times I've watched the world's fastest drinker.
Absolutely.
I, in my heart, have no interest in that whatsoever. But the fact that he can inhale a
Yeah,
litre and a half of liquid in a few seconds
yeah,
baffles me. Baffles me that it can go on. So it's that question of why, of not knowing how these kind of deviations from what you know of your own reality can happen, what somebody's experience of that would be, in order to make them decide the things that they decided.
mm,
An ex of mine was a prison warden, a prison officer, whatever the official name is, I don't know, at a prison. Oh God, what was the name of the prison? Dovedale.
local Dovedale prison. Yeah,
Dovedale.
that's a local one.
Dovedale. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The close one. And
Yeah,
Rolf Harris was in there for a while, you know.
but yeah. He's dying apparently.
Hopefully. Um, can you tell what it is yet? It's a shank, Rolf. It's a shank. Um, anyway, but yeah, she was telling me, and there is apparently a kind of documentary about this guy online. I haven't seen it, but she was telling me that one of the guys in there who's a murderer killed a girl he was dating for a free breakfast. There was some dares going on with him and his mates, um, uh,
Oh, yeah.
and
What,
and
youngish lad.
yeah,
Yeah, Christ, I remember that. That was in the
yeah,
papers, wasn't
was.
it? And they did a BBC documentary on him.
I mean, if you tell me it was BBC, I don't know. I just know that there was one out there in
Yeah,
the ether
yeah, I
somewhere.
remember. He just did
No,
it. He texted his mates, and they thought
yeah,
it was a joke. What's up
yeah,
for breakfast?
caved her head
So,
in with a big brick,
yeah,
and then
and he
left her
was
there in the middle of a forest, and then went to try and claim his breakfast afterwards. So you think about that, and then it's less fascination. It becomes more curiosity, where you think, what has to break in your brain
yeah,
for that to become, I want some food, therefore my I don't know if they were girlfriend, boyfriend, or they were just dating, or whatever it was, my romantic directions
yeah,
must no longer have a head because I would like an egg and cheese bagel.
yeah. It's like with like any human, you'd think one thing that is done, regardless of what that thing is followed by a reaction that we could all relate to. Something you do
Mm,
something bad, usually shock, remorse, despair, and that kind of thing. It's sort of weird looking at something like that because they're almost missing
yeah.
certain things. You can't imagine being missing
Mm,
after doing something like that. Having none of that and going straight for, I want me brekkie. I want the
right,
thing over. Yeah, like
right,
what?
mad. Just
What?
man. I mean, there is currently an ongoing degree of research because at this moment, to the best of my knowledge, it's not been proven one way or the other yet. But it's kind of going on into how into whether psychopaths are born or whether they are created. You know, the kind of nature versus nurture angle towards evil, to use those words.
What do
But
you
that, that means different things to different people. What was that, mate? Sorry.
think? Like, what do you think it could be? Do you have like a stance on whether that is, is
Not
of the?
not not no not whether it's nature or nurture.
Mm,
My experience of psychopaths is that they simply are.
yeah,
So my focus in terms of the information from there was it pays to know that you're around them. It pays to know that you're interacting with them rather than the kind of diagnostic relevance towards that, because that's not a field that I work in. Yeah,
mm,
I need to know if I'm standing by somebody who's going to go home and bite the head off an animal and start another worldwide plague. I need to know if this kind of information is going to be potentially life threatening. Is a buzzword, but like threatening of a certain degree, threat to harm, these kind of things. I need to know if the people that I'm interacting with have these qualities. So
yeah,
there are popular kind of diagnostic tests for
mhm,
psychopaths, but given the interest, and this is only my two pennies now, in the same way that my two pennies mutilated my any fondness for BuzzFeed. The legitimacy and the efficacy of these tests became like the kind of IQ tests that you could do online, where you'd click on a couple of answers and you've got an IQ of 466. No, I don't. No, I don't. Click on a couple of questions. You are a pepperoni pizza. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But
I've
there are. Go on. What
I've
you gonna
got
say?
I've got a high IQ according to a Facebook survey I did. I'm literally like putting that as a CV as we speak.
Right?
It's
Absolutely.
totally
Absolutely.
accurate.
Karen
Yeah.
from Facebook said I was dead clever, and she spelled dead DED. Good
And
work,
guess what?
Kaz.
Ted. D-E-A-D. She's not. She's in
She's
my
not. She's
She's
not.
not.
She's made up. We're making it up. So one of the
But anyway,
things that does come out of these tests is there are an origin to the dimensions for measuring psychopathy that's done within diagnostic settings,
yeah.
and it is from, let me find it in my notes, Williams, Paulus, and Hare. That they put forward these parameters in 2007. The four dimensions that they see you have to tick off in order to be marked off as a top of the class A grade run of the mill psychopath would be what's known as interpersonal manipulation. That's your superficial charm and deceit.
So you can just sort of pull the strings, that's- that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah,
Charmer.
yeah, absolutely. But it's charm. It's charm towards nefarious means.
Yeah.
Because right, I could. No, not me. I couldn't. I don't have the skill to do this. But there would be somebody out there who could go up to a bar, charm somebody else into buying them a drink, and not feel anything about that. Not feel anything about that. Because the rationalization to the charmer is, let's just a drink. They could say no.
Yeah.
I'm just being nice. Whether they put forward that they have no romantic intent or not might differ, might not change. But because the stakes are around a drink, that doesn't incur a great deal of social challenge. Whereas,
Mm.
and I've read stories about this of office retreats and the like, and they are trying to do a kind of bonding exercise as a team and whatnot.
Mm.
And this I forget the name of the company, but they were going skydiving, and they were supposed to like hold hands and do that kind of circle thing, that
Yeah.
circle formation on the way down as a way to kind of reunite and reignite their faith within each other. And one
Happened
of
to go.
them, yeah, exactly, right. I mean, the English way would just be to go to a bar, get drunk,
Yeah.
done, um,
Thanks
done,
forever.
done. And Hare, sorry, I've just seen your question, Hen, and Alicia B. Yes, that Robert Hare, that Robert Hare. Um, so they're up there on the plane,
Yeah.
and this office psychopath was whispering in one of the women's ear, who's very frightened and whatnot, didn't really want to be up there, but she was feeling quite pressured into it, and he talked her to be first out, and as she's about to back out, he shoved her out the plane. I mean, she's got a parachute on, she's got all the safety kit and all of that kind of stuff. But he shoved her out of the plane as a way to point out that she didn't have a commitment to the team because she went first, just trying to get down. She's only thinking about herself, this kind of thing. Different stakes, different
Yeah.
stakes there. So the kind of interpersonal manipulation on the back of that,
Tom Cruise did.
he did. Well, she didn't end up in Scientology, you know. That'd have been that'd have been a shite sight worse. So let's have a look at Hen's question. Do you think that psychopaths have the ability to control themselves? Yes, but the ability to do that doesn't inherently make you a psychopath. I have the ability to control myself in a number of situations, except when there is an open packet of biscuits. That's something else altogether. But
Yeah.
like, for example, when I'm having to I'll give you an example, but I won't kind of be as obvious about where it comes from. When I'm having to sit across the table from somebody and discuss the sexual aggression in the workplace charges and the molestation charges that are being levied against this person for taking advantage of a person of a emotionally frail disposition, let's say. I have to be able to talk to this person with the level of control needed to have an open and honest and direct conversation about the course of action, because just because the actions the allegations have been levied against this person at the stage I'm talking to them doesn't mean they're guilty or innocent one way or the other. So if I'm to lean into any kind of bias I have against that kind of thing, and I do. The same thing for domestic violence. Either
Mm.
way, I have some strong opinions about that. Um, that needs to be controlled in order for me to be able to effectively do my job. If I mean an everyday example, right? Have you ever, I mean you specifically, have you ever been sat in like a social environment or a work environment, and somebody who holds a higher position up than you in whatever situation that would be, whether you are new to the social group, if it's a social outing, or whether it's somebody who holds a higher role than you, and they are talking absolute garbage. They're
Oh
talking
God.
absolute shit, and you know that if you open your mouth to offer your opinion, however contradictory it might be, it's going to get you into trouble. What's been your experience of that?
Well, I think you've been in some of those experiences with me during the time where it doesn't necessarily always go too well, does it? It's sort of
No.
met with more drivel of the same shade,
Yeah.
uh, more or less. You don't really get a lot from it back, do you? You don't. So it's kind of like a waste of time, even if you do, and it worsens the situation. It might get a few sort of like you might get a few agreement nods, but it won't go above that, will it? It's
No, no, exactly. But that's the thing. In terms of your reaction, do you are you ever doing anything as obvious as,
yeah. I think one of the things
or
I
do
used
you
to do
just sit there like,
is you put your head back to take some bigger breaths to calm down.
right? That's control. That's control. Control like that happens all the time. But if it was that, I don't know, you have ever accidentally or on purpose, I don't know, but physically hurt someone, right? If you've ever accidentally or physically or on purpose
I didn't push
hurt
you.
someone, huh?
Whatever she told you. What?
You were the guy in the plane. No. What were your feelings after the fact? Were they righteous? Yeah, don't do it again. Was it, oh my god? Was it fear? What was it? What kind of goes through your head when that happens?
More so, I think, yeah, you follow on from the emotion that you did it by. Whenever I've had those moments where it has been, if you've had to physically
Mm.
do something to someone, hopefully with the right reasons, but when I've done it, I've always felt like, oh, I'm doing right in the moment.
Mm.
Usually followed by like, maybe shouldn't have done that.
Exactly, and
You know,
mate, that's it in a nutshell. That's it in a nutshell. Psychopaths don't have that. Maybe I shouldn't have done that moment,
yeah.
right? Like, quite an extreme example was when somebody tried to attack my mum a few years ago, and I shattered their jaw with my Deadpool ring,
No,
and that is a big ring. That is a big ring.
not Deadpool. Not the
Oh
Voltron.
yeah, yeah, the Voltron ring. The Voltron ring, and he well, he was drinking through a straw for quite some time.
No,
It was all kind of resolved afterwards, but even in those kind of scenarios, that's my mum. You don't do that, and I
yeah,
felt that kind of righteousness afterwards. And then I
yeah,
saw the shape of this. I was like, oh fuck,
yeah.
oh my god, and I wanted to kind of like, God, I wish time travel was a thing. Oh. And that's the kind of nature of it, right? That control, much like the other elements that we've spoken about, depends on the stakes. If the
Yeah.
stakes change, the degree of psychopathy, as the kind of textbooks would dictate, changes too. That's why it's a spectrum. And the like. So the next dimension that is indicated is an erratic lifestyle, impulsivity, thrill seeking,
Yeah.
this kind of thing. And if you look at the kind of phrases that have come out of the psychopaths who are inclined towards criminal activity, it
Mm.
is the proverbial itch that you just can't scratch.
Right, yeah. It keeps
Right?
leading
It's
on. Next
That's
thing.
it, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. That's why that most top of the line A grade psychopaths, when they commit their crimes,
Mm.
they are heinous and long-standing in terms of their commitment to committing that same act, because they've found something that addresses this impulsivity and erratic nature, and they seek to acquire that. So how does that kind of translate into day-to-day stuff? Well,
Mm.
it could be anything from erratic hobbies. It could be anything from drinking to going to the gym, to coming home, to going back to work, and constantly being up there the whole time. I'll take this job. I'll take this job. I'll take this job, having
Yeah.
zero intention and zero compunctions about completing them, and then going to the bar and they're doing this and they're doing this and doing this. The concepts of it change, and I think the reason why this is such a prudent thing for us to be
Mm.
aware of, particularly if you work in a business environment, however big the business is because the stakes of the same thing are so wildly different. You can kind of write that off of going, oh, he's just had one too many caffeine pills, or no, that's just the way he is. Like, but these are
Oh,
signs and
there.
whatnot, you know.
Yeah.
And look at the kind of connection it would make if you combine the two of superficial charm with, the erratic lifestyle. Somebody who's quite capable of going, Mr. Charmer immediately with no change, right? That takes a huge
Yeah.
degree of things to do. Just call me out, but I bet faced with the same situation again, you would have a similar reaction, Ben. Um, much to my
Bad.
chagrin, yeah, probably.
Just as he bumps into you, oh, not again.
No, just turn the other way. I'll go the other side this time.
Pretty much. I appreciate it. That's what it was. Pretty. You're
it,
pretty.
it exactly. It was just one of those things. It may have been at the time that I don't know, too much adrenaline, too much whatever it was. But when I look back on it now,
Mm.
I'd done it before I'd even thought about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. You're just
so
like, it's you like, is it a reaction that you've had in your head? And it's like, well, this is followed out now. Like,
yeah, all I remember in my head is him lunging towards and me thinking, nope.
Mm.
That's literally all I remember of the kind of build up towards it. After the
Yeah.
fact, there was lots of mess. There was lots of mess, right? Anyway, I'm going to politely move on to the next dimension, lest I talk about my impulsivity towards protection of the strong matriarchal figure in my life. So the next one is it's the obvious one. We all know it's callous effect. It's known as, but that's basically a lack of empathy or remorse. This one in particular I take umbrage with,
Mm.
as a diagnostic consideration, purely because I hate with a vile and contemptuous passion
Mm.
the concept of empathy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's healthy.
I know you believe in sympathy because
Mm,
it's sort of like you're looking and understanding from your perception of what's happening and how you feel about that. But is it? I remember. Tell me if I'm wrong. Was it empathy? You don't believe that you can say or feel bad for that person because you're completely built differently. We're all completely different. We wouldn't be feeling the same way. We wouldn't have done the same
mm,
things, made the same choices because we're all different people. And I was like, I can totally agree with that.
mm,
It's not necessarily a lack of feeling
mm,
towards something. It's still feeling sorry, but you can't necessarily say you totally understand those choices. Like when you see someone on the street who's in a bad way,
yeah,
and they're doing something like in
mm,
terms of like if uh, a negative thing in terms of vandalism or
yeah,
they're threatening people and
yeah,
people will be going past them and saying, "Oh, it's the drugs," or it's their situation. They clearly got troubles and stuff like
mm,
that. You got to feel bad for them, haven't you? You got to feel
mm.
bad. You got to feel empathy for them. And it's like, well, not that you don't know what
Nope.
choices they made to get to that decision, and you
Exactly.
don't necessarily know if you're in that point. I would have like, oh, I'll take all these and I'll do all that. Yeah, bear in mind, I haven't experienced the same sort of stuff.
Mm,
Necessarily know what it would be like to experience that, so I can't say what impact it would have on me. You're sort of saying like, yes, I would be there if all those things had occurred, and I totally have I got that right? If
You
in
have, mate.
terms,
Yeah. Yeah. For my two pennies, my experience, my whatever word you want to call it, I completely agree. I mean,
yeah,
who's to say what is definitively right? Because if there was a definition, there wouldn't be any arguments over the topic, right?
yeah,
But that's, I mean, there was a great book as well. To quote books again, it was called Against Empathy, by Dr. Bloom. I think his name was Paul Bloom,
yeah,
but I'm not 100% on the Paul part. Definitely Dr. Bloom, because the mnemonic I have is a flower. So it was definitely Dr. Bloom. Anyway,
yeah,
but like 100%, like I imagine how it would feel to be in their shoes. Well, I'm in their shoes. I'll make different decisions.
Yeah.
Right? I'll make different decisions. What we can say is that it's more beneficial to have a compassionate understanding of saying, like, imagine what it's be like to be in their shoes. No, but like, what are your shoes at the minute? What are the shoes that you're in? I cannot try and understand the shoes that you're in, so I can
Yeah.
try and help you solve whatever. That is the difference between the kind of lack of connection in that area. So I don't need to show
Like,
I don't need to show empathy, and this is why I take umbrage with this on the psychological concept, because
you don't have to make
they
assumptions.
what was that, mate? Sorry, you sound lagged then for me.
Sorry, I'm saying you don't have to make assumptions then, do you? As well, you're making more informed decisions rather than just assuming you knew
Exactly.
or knew, which
Exactly.
I would have thought is more offensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But like, here's the thing. When and this is the thing I'm about to describe is a very semantic, watered down example of how it's run when they're looking for these kind of a lack of empathy, lack of remorse kind of scenarios.
Yeah.
Is somebody will say something along the lines of like, so why did this happen? How did that make you feel? These kind of questions, and if you don't show any immediate, sincere, authentic signs, then it's a mark of the lack of empathy. Even
Mm.
if I just think in terms of compassionate understanding, so like if I'm thinking in terms of well, I'm not empathetic because I don't agree with the choices. I don't agree with what's happening, but I understand it and the
Yeah.
like. So if I don't show any kinds of like connection to the kind of emotion that's been spoken about, then it's a mark for lack of empathy in this box. When there's more of a grey area, which is why it's difficult to diagnose a psychopath at best. Here we go.
Mm.
So just call me Hen. Empathy is when you understand because you've been through similar, but you can't empathize without that.
Yeah.
Alicia B. Empathy is putting yourself in someone else's mind, I believe, with different experiences. Not sure this is likely. Exactly right. I mean, this is a callback to what we were saying earlier. Everybody's got their own kind of way of thinking about empathy, sympathy, all of these kinds of things. And
Yeah.
and if there was a declarative concept to them, there wouldn't be any discussion. It would be a case of, well, 2 plus 2, it is 4. It's not the
Yeah.
Batman symbol, it's not. Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
and the final one is criminal tendencies. It's criminal tendencies,
Well, this has got to be the most obvious one. It's
right?
these, then you pretty much got it in the bag, haven't you?
Mm.
Unless again, situational
Here's the thing.
issues. You'd
Here's the
never
thing.
know. There's all sorts of reasons why you might
Let
be wrong.
me let me let me kind of put you in a very awkward position
Mm.
because I saw it in the Kama Sutra. No, um, imagine, for example, you work for a local food-based business.
Mm.
It's a small family-run establishment, but you work there. And you're not necessarily part of the family. They have employees. You work there,
Yeah.
and you are going through some hard times and the like. So you start to steal food to bring home
Mm.
so you can eat, so your family, whoever you live with, can eat
Yeah.
in this way. But the lack of stock in the shop puts additional strain on the family. Now they are coping, they're running, but it's additional strain. They are
Yeah.
wondering where it's going, they're losing money, this kind of thing.
Mm.
What I know it's hypothetical and the like, but in that scenario, what's your remorse levels? What are you thinking? Tell me a little bit about how you think you might react in that scenario.
I- I'd be remorseful. I think it'd be owed to the family to be
Mm,
remorseful. I
mm,
think doing it without that would be worse. If you could do it and not feel anything whilst doing it, then and not really consider it
mm.
as bad thing for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I, th- I think there'd be a bit of an issue there. Um, yeah, I think that's me. I'd have to feel remorse to be able to. I think to
Right.
justify in a
Right.
way.
And that's the thing, because repetition of that act, that's a criminal tendency,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
because you are inclined to theft
Yeah,
based on your scenarios, right? That's just
yeah,
like being an on paper kind of example about it, because you're not thinking about mitigating circumstances and the kind of legal aspect of it, all that other hay bale of nonsense.
yeah,
You're just thinking about the act as it were, and Alicia makes a good point. Traits are on a spectrum. Where's the line for criminal tendencies? And this is the thing. This is the kind of point that we're making here. So if it was that you charmed the old dear who runs the store into closing early, so you could do the stock check, and then you decided to run home with your stock instead of use your bike like you normally do, and you didn't feel anything about it, and this happened a few times,
yeah,
you've hit the kind of you've hit the kind of quadfecta,
yeah.
quadrifecta, trifecta, trifecta, but four. I don't know what the word is for that. Quadrecta. I don't know. I'm making it up. But
Erector.
yeah, whatever it is. I bet it hurts. You've kind of you've smashed them all there, in terms of in terms of the psychopathy, the psychopathy measures for the Williams Paulus and Hare module. If you look at the DSM, which is how most professionals go through their diagnostic situations for whatever kind of mental illness it is that somebody has. I realise we're speaking about psychopaths here. The DSM-5 diagnosis to psychopathy is a youth diagnosis of conduct disorder, with the addition of so-called callous, unemotional traits, which manifest as a lack of guilt and remorse, a callous lack of empathy, a lack of concern about one's performance on important activities, and a general lack of interest in social aspects.
Ah,
So somebody has to check off all of those markers, but it has to
yeah,
be repetitively. It has to form part of who and why and what
yeah,
you are. Just because in some certain situations somebody asks a question, it doesn't immediately move you. That's not a lack of empathy. That's not a lack of remorse. That thing just
exactly.
disconnects from your kind of situation. I mean, take for example the amount of people, myself included, at times I don't always fall asleep to this, but who will put on a true crime podcast to fall asleep to, right? To fall
Yeah,
asleep to, listening to this talk of violence and deaths and horrible, heinous things that have happened to individuals throughout time. People fall asleep to that now, right?
yeah,
There's a disconnection there, so you can't have any, to a certain degree, you can't have any empathy, sympathy in these particular circumstances, because you're just listening to facts being recounted. You know,
yeah.
so
That could purely just be the concept of someone talking in your ear about something quite in depth. It could be something really, couldn't it?
yeah, massively, mate, massively. I mean, and that's one of the terms that comes out of the whole field is, well, I'm not a psycho. I'm a high functioning sociopath. Do your research. All right, all right. Well, that's like saying, all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs. Right? A
Bit of all.
sociopath is a psychopath. It's just a different version of it. Again, we'll go back to the DSM definition of a sociopath. the overview, sorry, of the diagnostic conditions is an antisocial personality disorder, sometimes called sociopathy. It's a mental disorder in which a person consistently shows no regard for right and wrong and ignores the rights and feelings of others.
Right.
It's a psychopath,
Yeah.
right? Let's not split hairs. Let's not split hairs. All we're missing from the socio from the all we're missing from the psychopathy angle is criminal tendencies.
Yeah.
It's criminal tendencies just for sociopathy. So we can say, based on this, that in all likelihood, for the average Joe like you and me, we will
Yeah.
interact with more sociopaths on a day-to-day basis than we would psychopaths.
Yeah.
But the initial opinion about the whole field is that they are sitting on a chair made of skulls, sharpening their scythe, drinking lamb's blood from whatever udder they can find, and that's not
Cows.
necessarily the case.
Yeah. Sometimes it's water bottles. We got him. We got him. This is where the green screen comes down. There's like SWAT. We know what you did.
That's it. You just see cages of puppies behind me. No.
Now make my vests.
See, all that just reminds me of is the Mr. Burns song.
Yeah.
When I think they is he the parodying Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, yeah.
See my vest, made from real gorilla chest. Which I would imagine if Mr. Burns put on a gorilla chest, he would die. He would crumble into dust.
It would just be
Yeah, Alicia, be an interesting observation about true crime. I notice when people have emotional control, others tend to deem that disturbing. 100%. 100%. Like a great deal of the people I have been, God, that makes me, it's about to make me sound like a slut. A great deal of the people that I have been romantically entangled with have consistently referenced me as cold, harsh, horrible, and this kind of thing. Just because I have control over myself enough to answer an emotionally charged question, which
that would say more about them more than anything, wouldn't it?
I can't say anything in that scenario because I would just look like the bitter ex. That's for other people to have miserable lives interacting. No, I'm kidding. But like there are. I mean, it prompted the kind of statement from me in where I would go, okay, so do you want me to listen or do you want me to fix it?
Yeah.
And even then, that was still pretty, in their opinion, shitty of me to be able to do. I'm like, so you want to stay in this situation for feeling as horrible as what you do, or do you want me to help it go away? Yeah, you just don't understand. You just this. All right, okay. Well, I'm going to go outside and read now. Goodbye. They didn't get you. They very rarely do. They very rarely do. It's mostly why. As a side note, as a personal side note, it's mostly why I interact with as very few people as I do in real life, because my humour and I think by extension yours, sir, is an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
We got to be careful.
Yeah.
What kind of what we think is funny.
Yeah.
Might not necessarily tickle the pickles of other people.
Here we go, Alicia. Wow, my husband says, "Are we circling or solving when I vent? Who knew there were two of you?" Well, I like it. I like it. I mean, it's a very relevant observation. So the reason why we've spent this particular episode breaking down the thank you, Hen. I'm going to put that one on the screen as well. Well, I find you funny. Thank you. I'm gonna put that one on my business card.
Oh, pity.
I'm sure I probably mentioned it before because I mention it all the time when the concept of humor comes up in relation to me. But Real Big Fish. They were playing a concert live at the House of Blues. I'm sure it's probably online somewhere, but I've got the DVD. And they're kind of doing the breakdown version of their song Beer, and one of the guys from the trombone section is just screaming into a microphone, and they're all kind of ranting and raving at each other, and the lead singer in the middle of it gets some sunglasses out of his pocket and goes, "I think the important thing, ladies and gentlemen, is we think we're funny." And that's really it. Most of the time, like I'll say to Maddie, the important thing is that I think I'm funny, and now I can say that Hen thinks so too, and I'm gonna because it's gonna give me more reason to make terrible jokes as I do. Like for example, when you mentioned the thing about books in the library earlier, I had a dad joke online earlier that really cracked me up. So I'm going to tell you. This guy said. My penis was actually in the Guinness Book of World Records, but the library asked me to take it out and go. So. And that was great. It really cracked me up. Anyway, so the reason we spent this episode breaking down the moving parts of psychopathy, granted on a very, 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 very semantic level, is because whether it be Tuesday's episode or the next podcast, we're going to have a look at some footage of some of Dharma's interviews, some of Dharma's interviews and the like.
I love a bit of video time.
Absolutely. I mean, I've already looked at Richard Ramirez as well, not personally or in real life, because that would be done from quite a distance. Even though he is dead, I would still look at him from a distance. And just if you guys, I stumbled across this as well the other day. I didn't know this person existed till the other day, and I told you about it when we came round. When you came round here, and we did some filming. Just to talk about, the kind of ability to do something. The kind of ability to do something heinous and not feel anything. I'm going to pop this on screen just because it's lovely. What a great way to spend part of a Thursday. Thank you, Jen. Well, thank you, Alicia, for stopping by.
Thank you.
I appreciate you listening to us waffle about these topics for as long as what we did. But just quickly, there was a particularly heinous, horrible. There aren't as many horrible words as you can use for this person. He was known as the toy box killer, and he would play his. Yeah, it was horrible. He would play his victims a tape, which was an hour-long tape of exactly what he was going to do to them. And it is online, though I'm not going to encourage you to search. I'm not going to even share a link to it. It is online if you want to find it. That's up to you. But just so you can get an understanding of somebody's voice during a scenario, like the descriptions of this, that doesn't even have any kind of remorse being shown vocally at all, and that is invariably the first place where it'll break. So that's what's to come over the next couple of episodes. Well, there you go. The transcript of the TBK is horrifying. It really is. It really is. It's on YouTube, all right?
Yeah.
The original audio, it's on YouTube. I played you the first, what was it, the first 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
Yeah. You had chunks in there of something that he described he was going to do, and wow, that guy.
And it's his voice. It was like, yeah, we're going to do this, and you're not going to like it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen often. But like that kind of cavalier attitude to it, and that's one of the few times I've ever listened to or interacted from a true crime series and gone, God, that's
he was describing his activities like he was telling you what he had to do to, I don't know, like fix the hole in your roof,
yeah,
and the inconvenience it might cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alicia's familiar with it as well. And Hen, I'd never judge anyone for watching Big Brother, mostly because that back in the day I used to use it for training. all the time. I used to watch it with the sound off and use it for training. So. Secretly, I bribed her to pay me compliments online. All right, listen, my ego is that fragile. I need the help. Okay, I'm living on the streets. Have some empathy.
It's in a green tent.
I'm in a green tent. Yeah, it's not a tent; it's a wigwam. Anyway, to everybody that's joined us live, thank you for stopping by. I hope you've at least got something out of the experience.
If you're all serial killers,
And if you haven't, then we'll see you next Thursday for a repeat of this. Right, guys, take it easy. See you later.